I like it too.
Yeah. So how
Yeah,
many
'cause
episodes are you going to record before you launch, or how many do you think that you need
oh,
before?
so I'm going. So what I did a little bit of research and I asked other people around that do podcasts, and usually they release an episode per week. That's kind of the idea. So
Yeah.
I wanted to do at least like 10 interviews,
Yeah.
maybe more. Say that would be 4, 8, 12. So I cover like the next 3 months. I cover, before I
Yep.
continue. I mean, I'm gonna continue interview people in the meantime, but I don't want to run the,
Right.
I want to be in the place like, oh my gosh, I don't have anybody else. Oh, panic. I want to.
Right.
Oh, see. Also, I don't know how this is gonna go. But yeah, I'm just having fun talking with people.
Cool.
All
Very
right,
cool.
so Patrick, welcome to Laughter Lab. As I was saying earlier, this is also because of you, because me and Patrick had a conversation a while ago. Well, actually, Patrick helped me out with his marketing strategy, which is amazing. And he suggested, maybe Stefan, maybe you should consider launching a podcast. And this is what we're doing now. So before I start asking you some questions, why did you? Because I know about the things that you do, and I think what you do is amazing. But I want people out there to know. So maybe briefly, you can tell me about what you do.
So what I do is, so I run a brand and marketing agency, really targeted, focus on startups and B2B businesses that really help them position themselves in the market to cut through the noise to attract their ideal customers so that they can scale and grow profitably and really take the mystery out of marketing and really dive into what it takes to build a brand in today's world.
That's really cool. And I know you do that very well.
Oh, thank you.
So now we're going to talk, this podcast is called Laughter Lab. So, we talk about laughter, we talk about humor. So the first question that I have for you is like, what's your relationship with humor and laughter? Like, you know, growing up, and also, was there somebody in your family, or, there was like a funny person that you remember, or how was, humor and laughter part of your life, like growing up?
That's an excellent question. I haven't really thought about the origin story of the laughter. What I guess what I can say is I am the youngest of five kids, and there's a 12-year spread between us.
Mhm.
And for as long as I remember, I've always had a penchant for puns, or I would just make little quips here and there, and some people maybe they laugh. Maybe it's a courtesy laugh, or maybe they're run screaming for the hills because they're like, "Oh no, not another one." My mom recently told my wife that I started saying puns at 3 years old, which I find maybe a little hard to believe, but I wasn't there. Well, I was there, but my
Uh-huh.
memory doesn't go back that far, so I can't really say exactly when I started um, down the pun path. But what I can say is, while I take my work very, very seriously and take the work that I do for clients and their happiness and satisfaction very seriously, I don't take myself that seriously, and
Mm.
I like to have fun.
Nice. I would love to hear one of your puns from when you were 3 years old. I wish
Me
we had,
too.
I wish we had audio of that. That would have been amazing. Um, but was there anybody like, I'm, just wondering, just out of curiosity, like in the family, sometimes you have people in the family, now that you recall, obviously, when you're a child, maybe your memories are like, amplified or different from the reality, but maybe I'm just wondering if was there somebody that you remember, like, oh yeah, my uncle such and such was a very funny person.
Oddly, not that I can recall. Actually,
Hmm.
I came from a very, very serious family. There was not a lot of laughter. In fact,
Hmm.
I was the silly nuisance
Hmm.
of the family. And so I think I found laughter, but I think the family overall was pretty serious. And I think maybe I was the one that really kind of brought that forward. I know I have my niece often talked about my silly puns growing up. She's in her 30s now, and I think she remembers back when when she was 6, and I would say silly things and do
Hmm.
silly things.
Hmm.
But yeah, strangely, it, it might come to me, but I don't. I can't
Hmm.
pinpoint it actually.
It's okay. Well, that's very interesting. That's cool. I'm glad you are the jester of the family.
That's just yes.
um, but now I want to like talk about, maybe business or workplace or your experience, right? How laughter and humor is important in your work, and did you when you talk with clients, or somebody that you're dealing with, how is that important to like have laughter in that conversation?
Well, I think people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And laughter is a way to form connection and community. And I think there's so much seriousness in the world and there's so much seriousness in business that I think we
Mm,
need a little levity because
mm,
in the workplace, because we spend so much time with the people we work with, we spend so much time working. And, at some point, you need to step away from the PowerPoint presentation and have a real connection with people and maybe laugh a little bit.
mm.
Yeah. And I actually
Yeah.
recall laughing a lot when I was in college and pulling all-nighters and studying. I think maybe it's just like silly, overly tired laughing, but it was it was kind of a release.
Yes, I mean, I agree with you 100%. So would you say that like maybe humor and laughter could have an impact in the workplace, on work
Oh,
culture?
I think it has a huge impact in the workplace. And I think sometimes it can diffuse a tense situation. Like so say you're in a meeting, the conversation's getting heated. I mean, you don't want to have gratuitous humor that's inappropriately
Mhm.
timed, but sometimes it's healthy to just kind of call out the situation or the absurdity of a situation that kind of gets people recalibrated like, oh, wait, maybe we're taking ourselves too seriously and maybe we should dial this back a little bit and go a different direction. Because oftentimes we all want the same things. We're sometimes mismatched on how we get there. So I think it's critically essential because we're going faster than ever in the workplace, faster than ever at work, and we kind of on 24/7. And sometimes you just need to step away and laugh.
Yes, yeah, for sure. It definitely helps. And can you recall maybe like did you had like an experience or like maybe with some of your clients that you felt like, oh my gosh, they're so serious, right? And then maybe something happened, maybe I made a joke and things change? Or do you think like that your clients are like very, very serious?
I've had a mix, of people I've worked with over the years that are very serious, and some that are a little more don't take themselves so seriously. So certainly, I've always tread lightly with people that are so absolutely serious that laughter would just go by them, and also might cause upset. So I really try and read the room.
Mm.
Sometimes a pun slips out. I just can't help it. I think sometimes I think them like, ooh, now's not the right time to.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah. But usually, a lot of clients will be really, really serious out of the gate. Or a lot of people I work with when I was in my corporate roles will seem really
Mm,
serious, particularly in the finance department. Uh,
mm,
you know, CFOs in particular are often very serious.
mm,
But sometimes as you get to know them, you kind of find some common ground. You find those entry points and you start building that rapport. And that's where you can start to, inject laughter or a little bit of humor into the work you do. As long as what you're delivering is top notch. Laughter is not an excuse to be sloppy. So I think laughter
mm,
really works when you're a high performer and you're delivering what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And then you have a little more leeway to inject
mm-hmm.
some laughter.
So it's like something that adds on, right?
Exactly, exactly. Because if someone who is really, really serious doesn't understand your humor or they don't know you haven't built that trust and rapport in your capabilities,
Mm,
injecting laughter might make you come across as less capable, or they might start questioning what you bring to the table, so to speak.
mm.
I think.
Yeah, very interesting. And you said like sometimes that happen like in the corporate world, right? So would you say that is a maybe I don't know, like a category, or like, some businesses, would you say that, like, in your experience, that were more serious than other, or would you say that some businesses are more jollier than other?
That's a really interesting question because sometimes you think the most serious businesses, like for example, years and years ago, I was doing a photo shoot in a hospital operating room, for a hospital organization up in Washington. And you could hear in the operating room next door an operation going on, but the doctors were laughing, they were playing music and so forth. And you think that, okay, they're doing this really serious surgery, but they
Okay.
are laughing. And I think, they're obviously skilled doctors. They're doing a really, really important job. But I think they're using laughter to diffuse the tension and the stress and probably enable them to do what they do better since they do that day in and day out. I think it maybe
Mm,
keeps them grounded. So I always say that's a really serious profession. So I
mm,
think it's more the culture of the company, the culture of the client that dictates whether there's humor or not. And I've
mm.
seen in some workplace situations where it really isn't that serious, but people take it so seriously. And I think that, it might serve you well to
Mm-hmm.
just relax just a little bit. Do a really, really good job, but maybe, smile,
Mm,
laugh, just be.
yes, just be. I really like that one. I think that could really go a long way, right? A smile, even just a simple smile, right, can really go a long way. And my experience sometimes, like, maybe there is this misconcept that, like, oh, we're business, we're corporate, so what we do, it is serious, so we can't allow that in a work environment. We can't allow laughter, we can't allow humor, because we think like, oh, that's we are serious business. We don't do silly stuff such like laughing. I don't know.
Right.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Were you ever in a situation where, like, and this is like work related, but also in your life in general, that you felt like things were hard, or I was dealing with a really difficult client, or I was going through some really hard times in my life, and I felt like laughter, or humor maybe helped me go through it.
Yeah. So years ago, I think a couple of, and this is a situation that comes to mind, um, was I was working with a vice president of sales, and I was the director of marketing. And yeah, this individual was hard charging, really, really, really good at what they did, almost like a bull in a china shop. They wanted what they wanted when they wanted it,
Mhm.
and didn't
Mhm.
really trust anybody in their way, and were very loud and vocal. And I tried to build the rapport with them. I came in and just asked questions and listen, and it took a long time to build rapport. And then finally, it was just kind of being human and having a little bit of a laugh that kind of broke the ice. But it
Mhm.
took about 2 years
Oh,
to
wow.
do so. So of just consistently working with this individual and trying to understand where they're coming from. I think also part of communication, what I always try and do is I'm always it's not like laughter per se, but really trying to understand what makes people tick, how they think, how they make decisions, kind of the psychology. I mean, that's what I bring to marketing and brand
Mhm.
building. It's the psychology of how people think and make decisions
Mhm.
and showing up and creating that emotional connection. And so in the workplace or with whoever I'm working with, I really just want to understand what is their point of view? How do they see the world? Because
Mhm.
that's where I can develop more empathy and also be of more service. And so from there, you can kind of understand where where to find the entry points and know how to connect and communicate. And that's where laughter can come in.
Yes. Oh, yeah, really. Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I think that naturally leads to the next question, which is, say I'm a very serious business owner. I'm a very serious CAO, or just in general, I'm a very serious human being, right? So either in business or in life in general.
Mhm.
What if I wanted to bring more humor? What if I wanted to bring more laughter in my life, business, or just in life in general? Do you have any suggestion, any advice, or things that you're trying?
So, and this is for the individual that is serious, who actually
Yes,
recognizes that they
yes.
would like to be maybe a
Mm.
little bit less serious.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an interesting. I haven't framed it in that standpoint. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
just riff a little bit. So I guess what I would suggest is I would first start with a level of inquiry. Is like, so tell me more, help me understand. If I didn't know them well, help me
Mm-hmm.
understand where you're coming from and why you feel this need to have more laughter. And then I would try and find, some common ground or find something that they're interested in and try and get them to refocus on, maybe they're so focused on business and maybe they lost, the sight of that, the things that brought them joy. And so I would encourage them to spend some time in the things that brought them joy. Like, for example, if you're a CFO or, just a really, really serious business person, you're trying to build this business and it takes everything you've got to, to get the traction and get the success in the marketplace. And you get so enmeshed in the day to day of trying to build this and support your employees that you lose sight of like, oh, I don't know how to have fun
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And then I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking like, okay, well, let's find like micro moments where you can go carve out some fun. Maybe it's just a walk. Maybe you're not taking a walk. So just
Mm-hmm.
go take a walk and get yourself out of the like a change of scenery. Like if you're always in the office, if you're always here, go to the beach for a day. Just take a detox day and go to the beach or dip your toes in the water if you never take your suit off or your business clothes off. Just
Mm-hmm.
learn how to be free or find some way to just be free, even for a bit, because I think that can unlock what's holding somebody back. So that's where I would start. And if there's a dormant hobby, I would suggest ways to rekindle that.
Yes, I love that. So to me, that sounds like kind of like reconnect with yourself, take some
Yes,
time, be present, and really
exactly.
like, disconnect and really think besides work, what are the things that are important to you? What are the things that bring you joy?
Exactly. Exactly.
That was really cool.
Yeah. And also I would like suggest go watch a funny movie. Go find a funny movie that makes you laugh and and
Yes.
and takes your mind off of what it is you're focused on. Find something to get lost in where time just melts away so that you're
Mm.
not thinking about business and you can turn it off for a bit.
Yes. So yeah, take time to yourself. And sometimes in my experience is like if I'm working on something, if I'm working on a project and I put a lot of energy in it, and then maybe I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know how to move forward. I'm a little stuck. Maybe for me personally, it's good to like, okay, pause. Let's go, yes, and dip my feet in the water, and then eventually go back to what I'm working on. And most of the times for me, that is that moment of like, oh, that's when the creativity comes back because it's like
Yes.
my brain is kind of like digesting all the things that I've been working on. So I kind of like allow my brain to take a little breath and like, oh, okay, we can relax for a second. And then this, and then come back to the project. And then sometimes when I step away and then I come back, most of the time for me, it's like, oh, that's when I have that moment of like, yes, or that moment of like, oh, now I get it. Something that like maybe you have an idea, that comes into your mind that sounds, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't think about that. But for
Yes.
me, it's really like because I allow myself to like take that break.
Yes. I think you just hit on something that's really, really important that we don't allow ourselves to do is we are so connected to our devices and so on constantly that lost we've lost the sense of boredom. We've lost the sense of
Mm.
quiet. We're always consuming media, we're always thinking, we're doing emails and so forth. We're not giving our brains time to process everything that we're taking in. And it is when you just step away, you change your scenery, I call it, you talk about shower thoughts and those
Mhm.
kinds of things. Just when you
Yes.
least expect it, your brain's connecting the dots, and that's where the inspiration strikes. You can't force it, and sometimes the harder you work, the more it's going to resist
Yes. Oh, I
showing up.
totally agree. And I love the thing you said, like you talked about boredom, right? That this we don't allow ourselves to be bored, right? This is the
Yes.
world we live in. I experience this with my kids, right?
Yes.
Especially with my little one. She's 8 years
Exactly.
old. And sometimes I get this, oh, I'm bored. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. You know,
That's right.
to me, that's like, oh, that's an opportunity. Like, oh, then you can discover things that you enjoy, you know. And beside devices, we don't really use devices at home, but that's just me. But you know that it's like an opportunity to like, oh, okay, now we can look at other things that we can do, or like, how can I, you know, I don't know, discover other ways not to be bored, right? Because
Exactly.
sometimes it's like we are overstimulated, you know, by things, you know, and if we don't get that stimulation, then the response is like, oh, I'm bored. You know what I mean? Or
Exactly.
if I'm not bombarded with things, it's like, oh, I'm bored now. I don't know what to do with myself. Oh, that's a great opportunity to be with yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important because we're so our attention spans are shrinking and we're not allowing ourselves to just have the freedom to think freely. And maybe
Mhm.
sometimes we get scared of like, ooh, now what do I do? I'm not being directed, I'm not being prompted. Oh, you mean I actually have to think on my own? That's
Mhm.
that might be scary for some, but yet, I know for me that's, taking a walk, taking a drive, just
Mhm.
I do a lot of photography, and so just getting lost
Mhm.
in seeing what's in front of me, seeing the light, sometimes
Mhm.
then sparks just a torrent of inspiration.
That's great. Yeah, that's very, yeah, I love it. Okay, well, I want to thank you so much for your time. This has been really interesting chatting with you and my really great conversation. And is there, so I heard that you changed a little bit of your business. You had something
Yes.
and then you kind of like merge it together with something else. So would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, exactly. So I just rebranded my business under the name of Brand Conductor, and that's helping businesses and brands build, find their position in the marketplace to cut through the clutter so that they scale and grow. And the more clarity you have around your position, the easier it is for you to find and connect with your ideal customers. And so I love nothing more than helping businesses, uncover what makes them differentiated in the market. And then whether it's building their marketing campaigns to help them scale, or it's building their comprehensive brand identity, I do that under Brand Conductor, and I bring in AI integration, but I'm the human guide that helps them orchestrate their brand and their market, and so they never lose sight of what makes them human and connected with their ideal audience. And it's called Brand Conductor, brandconductor.com.
And that's great. That's very important, right? Never lose connection with like humanity, right?
Exactly,
Very
exactly.
important nowadays.
Yes. And I
Uh,
think the more AI becomes a bigger, like electricity in our lives, the more we're going to crave that human connection. And that's where you come in with the laughter that you inspire in workplaces.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's because of that, because we go more in that direction, that we need more of real human interaction, right? Because
Exactly.
everything is AI or whatever. A lot of devices, a lot of yeah. But I
Exactly.
don't want to take more of your time. This has been great, fantastic. I'm so happy to, you know, that you participated. Well, you participated
Yeah.
because of you that I'm doing this
Yeah.
podcast. So thank you again for your time.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Right.
Thanks, Patrick.
Take care.